Antoan Bel. Mr. Bell was the cashier at a Canadian bank and committed suicide on February 28, 1865. One of our correspondents was a physician and a pharmacist living in the same town and provided us with the following information. I knew Bell for more than 20 years. He was a quiet man and the head of a large family. A while back, he began to fantasize that he had bought a poison at my pharmacy, which he then used to kill someone. He came to me several times and begged me to tell him when he had bought the substance. He was suffering terrible hallucinations. He couldn't sleep, accused himself and wailed. The family lived in constant anxiety from 4 p.m. to 9 a.m., at which time he would go to the bank, where he kept the books with perfect regularity and without ever making a single mistake. He had the habit of saying that he felt like there was some kind of entity within him who enabled him to perform his bookkeeping correctly and in order. Whenever he seemed about to come to grips with how outlandish his ideas were, he would cry out, "No, no, you want to deceive me. I remember, it's all true." At this friend's request, he was evoked in Paris on April 17, 1865. Evocation. What do you want with me? To subject me to interrogation? That would be needless, I'll admit to everything. It isn't our intention at all to afflict you with indiscreet questions. We only want to know what your situation is in the world you are now, and if it can be of any use. Ah, if you could, I would be so grateful. I'm horrified at my crime and I'm very unhappy. We hope that our prayers will ease your suffering. Besides, you seem to be in a good situation because you have repented, and that's already the first step toward rehabilitation. God is infinitely merciful and always takes pity on the repentant sinner. Pray with us. Here, we said the prayer for suicides, which can be found in the Gospel according to Spiritism. Now, could you tell us what crime you are guilty of? If made humbly, such a confession will be taken into account. First, let me thank you for the hope you have brought to my heart. Alas, a long time ago, I lived in a town whose walls were bathed by the Mediterranean. I loved a beautiful girl who also loved me, but since I was poor, I was rejected by her family. She then informed me that she was getting married to the son of a merchant, whose dealings went well beyond the 2 seas. So she rebuffed me. Mad with sorrow, I resolved to end my life, but not without first murdering my hated rival in order to satiate my desire for vengeance. I found violent methods repulsive and was horrified at the idea of committing such a crime, but my jealousy won out. The evening before my beloved was to become his, my rival died of poison, administered by me through the means I found the easiest. That explains these remembrances of the past. Yes, I reincarnated after that, and now I will have to reincarnate again. Oh my God, take pity on my weakness and tears. We lament the unhappiness that has delayed your progress, and we are truly sorry for you. But since you have repented, God will take pity on you. Tell us if you carried out the suicide you intended to commit afterwards. No, and I'm ashamed to admit that hope arose once again in my heart. I wanted to enjoy the prize of my crime. However, my remorse betrayed me, and I expiated my moment of madness via the ultimate punishment. I was hanged for it. During your latest incarnation, were you at all aware of the evil deed you had committed in the other one? Only in the final years, which I will explain, I had been good by nature, and like all murderers in the spirit world, after I had been submitted to the torment of constantly having to see the image of my victim, he pursued me as the living embodiment of remorse, I was finally delivered from him after many years of repentance and praying. I then began my latest existence, which I lived peacefully and meekly. I had a vague intuition of my innate weakness, as well as my former wrong, which remained in my memory in a latent state. An obsessing and vengeful spirit, however, who was none other than my victim's father, easily took hold of me and made me relive in my heart, like a magic mirror, the memories of the past. Alternately influenced by him and my protecting guide, I was both poisoner and the family man who was earning a living to support his children. In the clutches of that obsessor demon, I was pushed to commit suicide. I am very guilty, it is true, but less so than if I had decided by my free will alone. Suicides of my category, who are too weak to resist such spirit obsessors, are less guilty and punished less than those who abandon life solely through their own will. Pray with me for the spirit who so fatally influenced me, that he may renounce his sentiments of vengeance. Pray for me too, so that I might acquire the strength and energy needed not to fail in the trial of my intentional suicide, to which, I have been told, I will be submitted in my next incarnation. To the Medium's Guide. Can an obsessor spirit actually drive someone to commit suicide? Certainly, because obsession, which in and of itself is a kind of trial, can assume all forms. However, this is no excuse. People always have their free will and consequently can yield to or resist the suggestions to which they are exposed. When they yield, it's always of their own free will. Furthermore, this spirit is right in saying that those who commit evil instigated by someone else are less reprehensible and punished less than when they intentionally commit it. They are nonetheless not innocent of blame, since the moment they allowed themselves to be drawn off the moral path occurred because the good had not yet taken hold in their heart. How is it that even though prayer and repentance had freed this spirit from the tormenting sight of his victim, he could still be chased by his vengeful obsessor during his latest incarnation? As you well know, repentance is only the first step toward rehabilitation, and is not therefore sufficient to free the guilty spirit of all its punishment. God is not content with mere promises. Actions are required to prove the commitment to return to the upright path. That's why a spirit is submitted to new trials which strengthen it, and which at the same time enable it to acquire an even greater merit after emerging triumphant. A spirit is open to the persecution of evil spirits until they sense that it is sufficiently strong to resist them. Then they leave it alone, for they know their attacks will be futile. These last two examples have shown us the renewal of the same trial in successive incarnations for as long as it is not effectively overcome. Antoan Bel shows us, furthermore, as remorse and as a warning, the highly instructive instance of a man persecuted by the memory of a crime committed in a previous existence. By this, we have further seen that all existences are in solidarity with one another, that divine justice and goodness are displayed in people's ability to gradually evolve without ever depriving them of redemption from their wrongs, that wrongdoers are punished by their own wrongs, and that punishment, rather than vengeance of God, is the means employed to enable them to progress.